Honestly, I'm excited for two reasons. First, it's an opportunity to really amplify my work and really bolster its impact in the community. And two, there's definitely an understanding that my work is getting noticed and everything that my companies are doing, so it's exciting. I'm an Afro-Latin dance specialist, so I get people moving and loving life through dance. I'm a womanpreneur, so I have quite a few businesses, both online and in person. Well, I have a few companies, so all of my work is around Afro-Latin dance and really bridging communities together through the arts. So Mazacote has been in business for 15 years, and it's been about uniting people both locally, nationally, and internationally, and creating networks through the arts. Yo Soy Lola is a nonprofit initiative for Latina identifying artists, and it's working to build more racial equity in the arts while also paving the way for more through scholarship initiatives for Latinx youth. And my work at Despelotex, which is a passion project that I and many in the community are working on, is about building more gender equity and bringing more inclusivity for the LGBTQ community through Afro-Latin dance. I am a queer first-generation Mexican-American proud daughter of immigrants, and I grew up watching my parents really work extremely hard to just give us the access to be able to pursue dreams that we wanted, that they never had the opportunity for. And I was raised with the mother really instilling in me the value that education was always my ticket forward, and that building success for yourself meant also paving the way for more. So I was raised with those values in mind. That you always wanted to stand up for what you believed in, and that you always wanted to be able to bring that back into the community. So this work that I do all around is about bringing communities together, and it has been from day one, and I hope that it will continue to be that moving forward. It's no coincidence that art and politics are very much intertwined, because through art we have the ability to help people see the world from a different perspective. And we're in a place right now where we curate our environments, and so we don't unfortunately open ourselves up to people who are different from us, and then we wonder why there's a right and there's a left and there's no in between, and people aren't able to see eye to eye. So my work is about moving people through dance, and it's also about sparking conversations and bridging cross-cultural communities together without anyone, first of all, ever having to say a word. And then once you actually can connect people, it's helping people realize that you can actually have a conversation, and hopefully that really catapults change in communities. So I'm at the intersection of art and change is what I believe, and my work is all about using the arts to create more social impact in communities, whether that is changing the gender binary that people often experience in Afro-Latin dance, and helping the LGBTQ community realize that it can be just as welcoming for people who are even just non-conforming, and realizing that there's such a difference between gender, sexuality, and leader and follower roles in dance. My work with Lola is about helping people understand that there's a need for building more racial equity in the arts, and that there's a need for paving that way for more. And then my work around Mazacote is really just helping people around the world bridge communities in dance. In Spanish, we have a saying that says, "Dime con quién andas y te digo quién eres," which means tell me who you are with and I'll tell you who you are. But I also like to challenge that in the sense of really helping people to realize who you're not with is just as important. So I like people to really sit back and think, who is not in the room with you, who are we missing in our spaces, and who do we need to connect with that's not here. And I hope that through my work it really helps people see that in a different way and really try to reach out to communities that they maybe are not a part of, and hopefully that might open up channels and pathways towards new insights.
I'm very honored and humbled to be one of this year's awardees, and I'm particularly thrilled because I think the work of the YWCA Cambridge is absolutely critical. In my time as chair of the Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, one of the things I learned about was how critical it is for older women to have beds and a place to go if they're homeless. And one would think that there's opportunities for women to be cared for and sheltered and to build autonomy at shelters across the state. But the YWCA Cambridge is the only place that provides long-term opportunities for women to live after a certain age in the state of Massachusetts. I'm the executive director of the Women in Public Policy program, which means I'm a feminist for a living, and I work hard to make things fair for all people, but particularly to provide opportunities for advancement for women and girls, and to really have an eye on the intersectional biases and disparities and gaps that occur in society, and to work with policymakers, academics, and others to take evidence-based insights and turn them into meaningful policy. Well, I love your mission, and the reason that I feel so kindred with the mission of the Y is my job, my role, is to ensure that every person has a full opportunity to serve and participate in their community. Whether it's training people from diverse backgrounds and with different ideas, diversity of thought, diversity by country, age, race, sexual orientation, you name it, to run for political office, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And I've trained women from more than 80 nations, and we have women in elected or appointed positions from those trainings in more than 22 nations around the globe. And that is dynamite work, as is meeting with the terrific students that come from the Y to meet with us at Harvard and to help them learn and share from us, but also for us to learn and share with them. I love hearing what their ideas are, and it helps us do our policymaking better. For me, I believe that there's only two things that bring women equality anywhere in the world. And the first is statutory protections. The right to own land, the right to bodily integrity, freedom of movement, and we could make a list between now and tomorrow morning of all the different rights that we believe individuals should have. And in addition to statutory protections, the ability of a woman over the arc of her adult life to economically sustain herself and her dependents, which is a fancy way of saying the people she loves, is critical for her to have a free and equal life. And all of my work, whether it's the work I've done at Harvard, the work on the Women's Commission, the work I've done volunteering on the alphabet soup of women's organizations in Massachusetts and nationally and around the globe, is focused on helping to ensure equality for every person. So it's a pleasure to be here tonight. I have been in this field doing this type of intersectional work for 30 years. I'm one of the original founders of the Women in Public Policy program at Harvard University. I have also worked with organizations like the National Council for Research on Women. I'm working with both the Women Political Leaders Summit, which is what it sounds like, a group of women elected all over the globe, along with the World Economic Forum, to create new pathways and ability for people to convene across many different nations so that we're really in a global dialogue to ensure that there's both the policy as well as the business components to ensure that women have every opportunity to fully participate economically and politically in society. More than anything, I like to work in concert with the many communities in which I operate so that I help them create equality as they would define it. and so that each and every person gets to decide for themselves what that equality would look like. People often say to me, Victoria, do you only train progressives, or do you only train women from a certain region or of a certain educational level? And I say, I'm happy to train all people so that they can more fully participate in their democracy. I want to help create equality, but what people do with that equality, that's up to them.
It's an incredible honor. The YWCA is a phenomenally important organization for women, young women in particular, and I'm over the moon. The name of the wine bar that I own is Rebel Rebel. We're a feminist natural wine bar in Somerville's Union Square, and we're really trying to ask the question, what would it look like if hospitality was more intersectionally feminist? And that's both on the side of the industry as a whole, the way that we treat our employees, the way that we are supporting women, people of color, queer folks. And it also extends to how we think about female entrepreneurship in the hospitality industry. We talk a lot about the ways that access to reproductive care and reproductive rights can equal access to capital and opportunity. And we're also thinking about how a more intersectionally feminist hospitality industry can better reflect the communities where we are positioning ourselves. We think about hospitality centers, bars, restaurants as kind of replacing what would normally be what would normally be a community center as a place of worship or something like that for a community. It's places where ideas and information are exchanged, people are interacting with each other, and what does it mean or what does it look like if those spaces are more inclusive and more equitable. I'm a woman. I'm a woman business owner. I'm a queer woman, and I've done a lot of work working for reproductive rights organizations like Planned Parenthood in the past. It's just something that we can't not talk about this anymore. The time is kind of up to pretend like this isn't important. That's a good question. I think a lot of what we're doing, certainly declaring ourselves an intersectional feminist wine bar, is something that people aren't used to hearing. A lot of the conversations that we're starting are conversations that people aren't used to having in places like a wine bar. They're used to having those in academic institutions, in the communities that are doing work that are related to these things, not kind of as they're out on a Saturday night with their friends. So I think that that's something that we're really trying to do, is make this dialogue something that people will engage with on a daily basis in their social settings. We've also done a lot of work to raise money and fundraise for abortion rights. In the spring of this year, or late spring of this year, when a lot of states were passing legislation or trying to pass legislation that would limit access to abortion care, we started a grassroots fundraising campaign that we called Rosé for Resistance, that basically encouraged other bars and restaurants to partner with us to help raise money for abortion access, particularly for the National Network of Abortion Funds and the Yellowhammer Fund. We got more than 30 bars and restaurants on board in over 4 states, and we were able to raise over $50,000 in a period of around 3 days, just selling wine. So there's work to be done there, and we're happy to kind of be leaders in that regard. I would love to just keep leading the conversation. I would love to see more bars and restaurants choose to become community centers in the way that we have chosen to, engaging with their community about these issues and topics that are important to our industry, but also to everyone. I'd love to see more female entrepreneurs in our industry. I think that that's really the key to changing a lot of the kind of toxic behavior that is rampant in our industry. And I'd love to see more young women getting involved in the industry in intentional ways, rather than it just being kind of a job that you do while you're doing something else or waiting for, something else to take off. I'd love to see a lot more intentional engagement. I think that we have a lot of opportunities to really be centers of culture, community, and change.
I'm incredibly excited to be an awardee this year. I'm so often not used to being recognized or acknowledged for a lot of the work that I'm doing, and it just means so much to see the recognition, especially around my work in dismantling racism and really supporting the city in dismantling some of those pieces as well. So it's truly an honor. So I have multiple professions. I like to think of myself as the jackass of all trades. And so I serve as the president and co-founder of Disruptive Equity Education Project, or DEEP. I also serve in a consulting capacity with the Reimagining Integration Diverse and Equitable Schools Project over at Harvard's Graduate School of Education. And I'm the social justice entrepreneur in residence with City Year. So all that to say, the three things that I do all live at the intersection of disrupting inequity in education. Well, I really think a huge part of the mission around dismantling racism and then supporting youth has been the work that I do in education, particularly around supporting principals and superintendents, teachers and students in having difficult conversations about race. I also think it's been really powerful because all the work that I do lives at the intersection of bringing humanity closer together. And I think a part of dismantling racism is grace and care. So just that work of teaching folks how to be in community with each other again, as well as being able to call out the systems that we usually don't name, I really think fits in well with the YWCA's mission. This work is important to me because I really believe that this is a multi-generational challenge, and that even though there's a ton of work that I'm doing and a lot of my colleagues and staff are doing to dismantle inequity, it really matters to be giving those skills back to youth. And I think that over the last, I don't know how long, we've really forgotten how to be in community with each other. We've forgotten how to agree to disagree. We've been taught that some of the most important conversations are taboo. And so just being able to support people in conversation and building humanity and increasing empathy are all things that feel incredibly important for this lifetime, and then the futures for our children and their children and their children. It's the first time I've been acknowledged as a trailblazer, so I'm honored to even hear that for the first time. Might want to hear it again. And so I think that I've been a trailblazer because I think that there are a lot of folks who feel overwhelmed by the challenge of dismantling oppression. It feels so huge. And I think that I've really supported organizations as well as helped to found an organization that really lives at the intersection of helping people feel like they have agency to do something. You know, I think it's reframing that a conversation can be powerful. It can expand people's mindset. That strategy alone or content alone isn't enough to change a world. And I think that trailblazing for me has been around the introduction of storytelling, having students and children in the conversation, really doing the intergenerational work that allows us for our folks who are elders to continue to do it, and for our youngsters to really see how they can be for years and years. I would love for people to be able to say that they feel skilled. I just think it's incredibly important to empower every single person to make a change in whatever area of impact that they can. And so I would love for people to feel not only that they had a great conversation, that they heard some really wonderful storytelling, but that they left with a strategy for themselves, right? How to do the work to themselves and for others, as well as being able to think about what could they change in their practice, maybe even their practice if they're a teacher, so that we're seeing different outcomes for students or different partnership with communities across lines of difference.
Well, I feel very honored to have been chosen to be honored at this event, especially because I know that there are a couple of people that are being honored that are amazing, that I admire a lot. It feels also a recognition of the work that I've done with immigrants for so many years. So it's very nice. I am the former program director for En route in Cambridge, but my background is in human services and planning. But for the past 27 years, I've been also an educator. As an immigrant and as a person who has always advocated for people of color and immigrants, I feel that I am right at the forefront in terms of advocating for equal treatment to all human beings, no matter what color their skin or where they come from. So to me, it's very important that people from all walks of life be respected and not be sort of looked upon. It is important because I'm an immigrant woman who has experienced racism also. Sometimes people does it very bluntly, but sometimes it's inadvertently. They don't even know that they're saying or doing things that are hurtful. So to me it's a matter of educating people to kind of understand where everybody comes from, or at least where I come from. Basically opening opportunities, I feel, to young immigrant students, high school students, by sort of guiding them through the pathways of college or career or whatever they want to do. So to me, that's been my sort of mission in life, helping others achieve what they wanted to achieve. Usually when you ask parents, why they left their homeland, a lot of the times they say, it's because I want my children to have better opportunities. And so doing that type of work and helping young people sort of achieve success to whatever shape or form has been very, very important to me. As a young woman, when I came here, I did not speak English. I was undocumented also. And so I know that with hard work and perseverance that you can really achieve what you want along the way, but also by aligning yourself or surrounding yourself with people who care about you and who want to see you succeed. I would like for everybody who comes to this country to have the opportunity to achieve their goals, what they want out of life, no matter where they come from.